all chose to serve church missions, where they learned a lot too about life and about people and how they're pursuing their goals and dreams. As we were raising our children, we tried to give them family names, and so we were blessed with the last two being twins. And so I named my twins Kamei Moku and Kamanava after their grand uncles, who, the original twins, whose older sister is my 8th generation great grandma. And so this is a way that we could instill in my twins some of the great history and stories of all our ancestors. Now I'm also Chinese, as you will find out later. I'm also Portuguese. Can talk, I like to talk, but I don't look like I like to talk. In fact, when people come in my booth, art booth, they always go to my wife. Because I guess I don't look like an artist, but I tell them, no, I can chew gum and walk at the same time too, but it's neat. But when I talk about our paintings, it's us, because if I wasn't for my wife, I'd give it all away. I'm Hawaiian, you like my stuff, you make spears, I trade you. And I've been doing that, but my wife cut that off. She said, you know, honey, we need to pay our obligations and our bills, and so I'm thankful and grateful to have her. So when I mention art, it's our art, because I wouldn't be able to do it without her. As far as my children, my daughter, Kamei, is very good at art. I don't push the art on my kids. Yeah, they want to find their own niche and stuff. I do, but she's really, really good. And when I was working on this big project for the convention center in Honolulu, you guys can go see it. It's on the 3rd floor. It's hanging up on the wall over there. I had no reservations of letting her jump in. She had a mentorship project. She attended Puno. And so she jumped right in and helped me on the painting, and it was pretty neat. And I was thankful for that. So some of the paintings I do to practice when I'm not having different art jobs, I paint my kids. So these paintings will go to them when they get big and they get their own house. Some of the things they like, the beaches, different things. People ask me, well, you can do flowers. And I have friends that love to do flowers and birds and pretty things, but I'm still learning to balance my ku and hina sides. Yeah, it's a long story. You might not have time for that tonight, but I'm still learning to balance, and so a lot of my stuff is warrior stuff. I like that kind of stuff, and I like the stories, and so now in Mo'opuna, I paint them a lot too, because I miss them. They're all on the mainland. But anyway, I grew up on the island of Oahu, small little community in Kahaluku, right along the water. It's where I learned how to swim. Like most of you, your dad or mom or grandpa take you out on the boat, throw you off the back in the deep blue sea, and that's how you learn how to swim. Yeah, crying, going back to the boat, but you learn really fast. Yeah, how to swim. That's how I learned how to swim. Like I said, my mom and dad had 6 sons. So my dad, 6'3", 280. Most of the time, you only needed to talk once in my house. It's old school growing up. Me and my brothers. My mom, she's from the island of Hawaii. Waipio Valley is where her mom but she was raised in Kalihi. My father's side was also raised in Kalihi, but my Parker last name. My 3rd great grandfather started a ranch in Waimea, but we're talking about talents tonight really quickly. I just wanted to focus on my dad's brother. Because as you see, my dad and his siblings, they're half Hawaiians, but they look more on the Hawaii side. So growing up in Kalihi was a hazard. Yeah, it was a hazard. And so my uncle, one of my dad's brothers, didn't like to be challenged all the time. So he saw this old Japanese guy flipping guys in somersaults, and it intrigued him, and it became part of his life. And he started American Kempo, and his name was Ed Parker. And he had schools all around the world, but they loved a lot of the people that I met since I knew my uncle. They loved his aloha spirit and his kindness. Good friends with Elvis Presley. Started Bruce Lee in his Hollywood. Bruce Lee didn't need any help, but my uncle knew guys in Hollywood that got Bruce Lee the part in Green Hornet. My grandfather was an excellent sportsman growing up in Palama, and him and Duke Hanamoku were 2-man snow champions for the Myrtle Boat Club. 10 years straight, nobody beat them. Very, very close friends. Great athlete. His father, Robert Parker White, came from Waimea, and The royal family used to visit Parker Ranch all the time. It was like in Las Vegas. They go gamble, drink, shoot wild dogs, just get away from the hustle and bustle of Honolulu. And so Prince Lele'hoku and my great-grandfather were about the same age, about 18. And they became good friends. And he told my great-grandfather, you know what, Bob? When my brother dies, I'm going to be the next king. So why don't you become a member of my staff, come to Honolulu, you like being a cowboy, I did a whole lot. Travel with me, we can hang out. And so great-grandpa comes to Honolulu. They live with Princess Ruth, because Princess Ruth had Hanai, Prince Lele'hoku, and she became very fond of him too. But what happens to Prince? He gets sick in San Mateo College in California. He dies at a very young age, and so great-grandpa stuck here. He stays on Oahu and becomes a guard in the palace of the Kalakaua, and then later on captain of the guard. They raised 18 children, 15 boys and 3 girls, so I got a lot of cousins and still haven't met. Well, the original Parker comes from Newton, Massachusetts, and that's my Hawaii side. Yeah? And like I said, it's all important. It really is. But bad news for most of you, if you guys want a loan from me, Parker Ranch, we were cut out of the wheel a long time ago, so I won't be able to give you guys any loans tonight as far as monetary. This is my dad. Growing up in the early 1960s, being Hawaiian was not cool. We had that moniker, fat, stupid, and lazy. But growing up in my house, I knew we wasn't fat, stupid, and lazy. I knew we were, Hawaiians were probably the greatest navigators on the planet. Circumnavigate the Pacific, memorize star patterns. I knew that we were excellent caretakers of nature, agriculture, aquaculture. I knew that. But in the early 70s, there was a great Hawaiian Renaissance, those of you that were around. And a lot of neat things was happening. Stop the bombing of Ho'olave. You had the music coming back with Gabby and the Sons of Hawaii. You had the language coming back. And you had a group of Hawaiian artisans started by Uncle Rocky Jensen and then Lucia called Halinawa. Now Halinawa was also started by King Kalakau when he was king, because when he was king, it was cool to be a Hawaiian again. He brought back the hula and a lot of the different things. And so this group of Hawaiian artists consisted of many talented Hawaiians. Some are still around today. Rocky Jensen, Lucia Jensen, Jason Momoa's dad, Joe Dawson, Ikunihi Polly's father, and Mr. Herb Kani. And I remember going down as a 5th grader to the APAC building in Honolulu and seeing their sewing, and just being amazed at all the different kind of Hawaiian art. And it left a deep impression on me, not knowing that someday I'd be riding on their shoulders and doing the same thing and telling the stories of our ancestors by putting a name and a face to make them come alive. Because I'm a very visual guy. You can talk all you want, but I'm going to go speak or put a picture with it. Then it's going to stick. This is one of my dad's paintings that I still have hanging on my wall. It's not an original I have. Uncle Joe Dawson has the original. But this is King Kahikini Nui Anumono. This guy was incredible. You learn about stories about him. So loving at times and then so cruel and mean at other times. But as previously mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, I don't judge my ancestors. I really don't. They live by a different set of rules. I learned from the positive and also learned from the negative. Some of that stuff that happened, you leave behind. You do. This is some other daddy's art. Heavy images that he came up with, telling different stories. So as a little kid, Hawaiian style, I never had an art lesson from my dad. Never. Till the day he died. He died about 7 years ago. Why? Because I never wanted to buy him. Hawaiian style, you watch. You observe. And so that's what I did. I got the TV guide and I copied it and I did different things to help me practice. I never had formal schooling. Just didn't have the opportunity to go to art school. I wanted to go to the Pasadena Art School. I just never had the opportunity to do so. But even at that early age, I was doing Hawaiian stuff already. Yeah, today I know how the malo is tied correctly, how the back knuckle goes on the weapon, but I didn't know that back then. But I do now. And so you see a lot of my paintings now. It's changed. It's been more correct. I learned to draw anatomy by Conan comics because that's the other teachers I had. And my dad's libraries. He had church books, Hawaiian books, art books. When I go to my friend's house, I always tell them, bro, I like seeing you guys' library. What you mean, bro? I don't know a library. What you talking about? Like I'm a weirdo or something. I thought everybody had a library growing up. I didn't know that it wasn't at everybody's house. Another guy I learned about at that early age was this guy, Frank Frazetta. Because of the war, my middle name is Kapukuniahi. Anybody in this arena or any relative had that same middle name? Yeah. Usually I get crickets. Yeah, 0. What does that mean? It means the firing cannon. Who in the world would name your kid that middle name firing cannon? Okay. My dad did. Yeah. My dad did. How did I get that name? Robert Parker White, captain of the guard at the Iolani Palace, when Robert Wilcox tried to storm the palace that first time. And Kalakaua told him, hold the palace at all costs, I don't want these guys coming in. Him and his sister never get along. Yeah, you guys knew that, right? They didn't see eye to eye, they weren't happy with some of his policies. So eventually, they tried to overthrow him, and unfortunately, Hawaiians killed Hawaiians that morning. Robert Wilcox was not successful in taking the palace that day, but unfortunately, some Hawaiians died, and later on that morning, someone of his men told him, Captain Parker, your wife just gave birth to another boy. So he named the boy Kapukuniahi. It's my Uncle Johnny, Grandpa's little brother. So when I came along, my older brother already has my grandpa's name, Kapeva Okea, first light of the morning. What a beautiful name, yeah? I wish my middle name was Aloha. Maybe I do more flowers and fish and stuff like that, but it's not. So when I came time to come along, Grandma told Dad, David, don't name him that name. Why are you gonna curse the kid? You're gonna have a bad temper. He said, no, Mama. I'll give him the English name of Brook. So the cool water will temper the cannon. He won't have any trouble with his temper. Oh, what a nice story, but nobody told me that growing up. Yeah. I thought I had one girl's name. Yeah, everybody teased me all the time. And that cool water, you can boil eggs all day long because I didn't know until I was older that getting angry was a choice. I didn't know that. I said, I told you one time and I'm going to tell you again. And boom, there goes the cannon. So anyway, don't name your name, kids that middle name, please, if you have. So the art started, when I started getting paid, my dad was supposed to do a project for Punana Leo. He was too busy. So I started doing a whole bunch of children's books for them, color pencil. And I didn't know how to paint yet. And Kamehameha Schools contracted me to do, they were gonna do Ruby Chiefs of Hawaii, redo it with 24 new illustrations. And they hired us to do that job. They sent me to Kona to do a retreat. I was very excited. We stayed away from all the stuff Herb Connie did because he's not gonna get better than that. But what happened eventually to that project, you got your two factions up on the hill in Kapalama, one saying it should be Kahakos and Okinas this way, and the other faction saying, like Anti-American Kavena, how do you know that's what the Hawaiians intended, where that Kahakos should be? So it got bogged down, and it was not done. But they still own 24 originals that I did for them. But since they were sending me to Kona, I told my dad, call him, I said, Dad, Kamehameha School sending me Kona, you can call your friend Herb Connie. I want to meet him. Dad, bro, getting old now, you know, like any Nieli guys coming to his house, he doesn't give interviews, but since you're my son, I'll give him a call. Thanks, Dad. I'm not making any promises, bro. Yeah, you know, nothing ventured, nothing gained, Dad. I'll call you a few days later, see what he says. A few days later, Daddy calls me up. Bro, you're in love. He's agreed to see you. Wow, thanks, Dad. Go over there, shut your mouth, don't take pictures without asking, and be in your best behavior. I said, Dad, no worries. I won't be a pest. So the first thing we do, me and Drina drive up to his place. I call him up, I know where he lives, up about a mile out by the big bamboo turn. That's his studio up there. He walks out of his studio. I look at him, oh, Mr. Connie, you're tall, huh? 6'4". Well, yeah, Brooke, I'm 6'4". He goes, you 6'5", man? Oh, yeah, I'm 6'5". How do you know that? But I'm 80. I said, you're 80 years old already. I said, you don't look a day over 50 or 60. You know, he had plenty of black hair, that's all at that time. So he gave me 3 hours of his time. And he saw the pictures, and it was wonderful, but we still had some pukas to do. And I said, you know, of all the stories in Ruling Chiefs, which ones do you think should be illustrated? And he told me something very profound. He said, all of them, Brooke, they're all important. Not the answer I wanted to hear, but that's what he told me. But he told me, you know, someday, if you're gonna paint, let me know. email me your stuff, I'll help you. So that's what I did. So it was him and my dad. Every time I finished on painting, I started painting in 2009. That's when I first started painting. Took a painting class at UH when we first got married. What was a naked lady painting class. I wasn't ready for that, so I just sat, painted her neck up in front of the back of her head. It was a 4-week class. I paid money for it, so I stuck it out, and I put away my brushes for 20 years. I don't like painting. So the movie The Bucket List with Morgan Freeman and Jack, you know. I said, bro, you're getting old, you gotta paint again. So I started painting. I went to UA, I went to take some other classes from Uncle Herb, kept all his emails. Just before he died, he sent me back an email and said, bro, I don't have anything to say, Brook, you're on your way. So that's me and Uncle Herb. It's the only picture I took at his house. Beautiful paintings all over the place, but I just didn't want to be near him. So I asked him, can I please take a picture with you on your veranda? He said, yeah, of course. So he did. It's me. But this is somebody's mansion. And I continue to honor him and just do the best I can in riding on his shoulders. I came back to Honolulu. I took painting classes from Patrick Ching in Waimanalo. It was $250 a class. Until the third class, I didn't have any more $350. So I became a shop boy, empty the rubbish, clean up his art classes, but the fly on the wall, listening to how he taught. So from Patrick, I learned how to paint sky and ocean, because he's one of the best guys. I mean, just excellent. And then we had our first art show at the Blaisdell. I see this old holy man setting up his booth. I said, man, that guy looks like Ed Payton. So I go up to him and I said, excuse me, sir, you Ed Payton? He goes, yes, I am. I go, oh, you don't know me, bro. But I said, I'm a big fan, man. I know your stuff for 20 years. He goes, what are you doing here? It's only supposed to be for vendors. It's too early. I said, oh, I am a vendor. He goes, what do you do? I said, I'm a painter. I'm trying to paint like you. Where's your booth? I said, right down there. I'll come by. Only had 5 commitments I did. I was just starting. He looks at me, he goes, how long have you been painting, man? I said, about 1 year. He goes, really? He goes, what kind of paint do you use? I said, acrylic. He says, what kind? I said, the one on sale. What? I go, I don't know. The one on sale. It's just that Verna Kale who comes back. I said, you know what? That's Verna over there. Ed kind of likes you. He was waiting to teach you how to paint in oil. Just gotta come corner. Well, you don't need to pay his fees. It was $1,500 for 7 days in Kona. So we saved our money. Thanksgiving I flew up, and it was me and 9 other ladies in that class. I was the only Kanaka Maoli guy, and then a horse rancher from Canada, a couple ladies from Europe. But Ed taught me how to paint in oil paint, and today he continues to be a mentor and a great kind friend to me. Yeah. So since I knew about the chiefs from my dad, that's who I started painting. But I also know happy wife, happy life. So you gotta continue to honor the Wahinis also. And so we tell all the stories, but really quickly, getting back to Kauai, my love for Kauai began as a Boy Scout, 1979. My scout master was a man by the name of Levon Mohale from Hawaii. He married my cousin Jackie Lee. She's a Safri. But Uncle Sonny's my uncle too. We're related too. I didn't know that at the time. He was a Mr. Hawaiian Islands. He used to train us, lift weights in a garage in Kaneohe. Had his 3 boys at the time, Ben, David, and forget the other one's name. But anyway, he took us to Kauai our senior year. 15 of us, full packs, 5 days in Kalawao. And us Honolulu city boys, some of us took all day on the trail. Yeah. And I remember getting there with the flashlight because it was dark already. We took too many breaks on the trail, lying down on the beach, and being blown away that I could almost touch the Milky Way. What is that? I knew you guys are gonna see because all the city light. And it was amazing. Wake up the next morning and all the naked guys walking around. Whoa, what's that? I said, well, he's telling us, well, no bother them, no bother you, right? I said, yeah. Well, you know, we're all high school seniors, right? Kind of did bother us a little bit. But it was a great time. We loved that guy. And his dad, the fishing tails of the boat, the Libra, you know, Leo Mohai, his father, just amazing, amazing. So he introduced me to Hawaii and some of the chiefs, yeah? Like Kukona and Mama Kalanipo. Now we talked a little bit about them tonight. Just gonna share really quickly again about Kaumoliki. What a special guy he was. Born in Honolulu, a very, very special birthing area. The only other sacred spot like that in Hawaii, in the islands, is Kukaniloko on Oahu. It's the Pico of Oahu. Now what's so special about that place? If you were lucky enough to have your child born there, among many other things, they would be blessed to be learned, to taught different chants that would have them have control over the elements if they should need it in a battle. That's what I was taught. It was amazing. Like, wow, for real. When I heard stories about BEEHIVE, Oahu King, and then Kaumoliki. And about the story, that my another good friend, Dr. Lee Crawford of Arizona, taught me. It goes along with the story my daddy told me. So really quickly, you guys know the story. Kai'o Kulani, that's Kahikili's half brother now, okay? Kahikili is Kalani Kupuli's daddy, yeah. So he's trying to get control of Oahu. Kalani Kupuli, Kahikili's son, Kahikili's retired now, he's in Waikiki, taking it easy. His son's trying to run the business. And he makes a deal. He's fighting his uncle for control of Oahu, makes a deal with these captain guys and some of their ships, Jackal and the Prince Lebeau, will give them, I don't know, how much hogs? 400? And so they have an Italian governor, Mario Amaro, okay, just like John Young and Isaac Davis, yeah, but he was for the other guys. And he knew Kai'o Kulani, he knew him, and he saw his helmet and stuff. He was at Pu'uloa by Haia Heights, and so he aimed the cannons and he ends up killing Kai'o and Kamakahele. And Kaumoliki is just, I think 9, 10, 12 years old at the time. And what happens is, Kalani Kupuli double crosses the guys, he don't give them the pigs, he gives them death. And he kills those captains, he takes their ships, he imprisons the men that were still alive underneath in the hull of the ship, and he's going to take those ships and attack the men on the big island. And there's a huge storm that comes up, they get seasick, they got to turn around. They stay Waikiki, they get off the ship, and the guys come from beneath, they overtake the ship again, they capture the ships back, and this Maria Amara guy, they put in a pan of gunpowder and have a barbecue on the ship because he killed, and there's that prayer that Kaumoliki is taught when he's small from Tutupele that he learned from his mom. So kills him with fire. Now the guys on the boat, I'm sure they didn't know that, but they were inspired to do that. So there he goes up in a puff of smoke, and then he's fed to the sharks out there, and they had barbecue that night, yeah, off of Waikiki. And those ships are now Kamehamehas. Okay. The other story is about Kaumoliki is grown already from his kahunas now. With Hawaii, as you Kauai guys know, you guys are well connected. Yeah, you guys have talents as far as getting help from the gods, because it's not a coincidence. It's known that throughout the archipelago. The Kauai guys, you gotta tread softly. Okay. So he finds out Kamehameha is coming with his fleet. So he remembers the prayer again. He was taught. Takes him all day from the morning, and in the afternoon, late afternoon, he goes down by the beach. He touches it with his staff, and a huge storm goes out and destroys the fleet. Now, some of my uncles said from Kauai said, no problem. Some guys still came, but we kicked their butt. And maybe the 3 guys went back. I shared that story in 2018. My son came to Kauai for a football camp to a Hawaiian lady that was working in the Kauai. I just felt I needed to share that story with her. I don't know why. It's my first time at the museum. I had a lot of cool paintings. 2 weeks later, I got a call on my cell phone. This is Brook Park. I go, yeah. Well, yeah, bro, you don't know me, but I'm calling you from Kauai. Oh, how's it going? You was just up here a couple weeks ago. I go, yeah. Yo, you talked to this little white lady in the Kauai Museum? I said, yeah. You told one story about Kaumoliki and the storm. Yes. Who told you that story, bro? Where did you read that? My dad. My dad told me that story. Some of my uncles. Bro, that was my auntie you talked to. I just had dinner with her last night with some of my uncles and aunties from the Iham. Mike is saying, who the heck is this Honolulu guy coming up here telling us the story? Only Hawaii guys know that story. I said, no, my dad told me. I said, well, okay, Bob, thanks, sir. Then he hung up. So, credence to that story. Then, of course, later on, peaceful agreement. Some of the chiefs didn't want that peaceful agreement. And Isaac Davis, since he stood the beans, he got the poison. Yeah, so. Almost foul game. What time is it? No, I got time. This is some of the things that happened to me in the book. So I'm going to share, It's going to talk about Kahikili. And at the time, was his favorite nephew, Kahahana. Now, Oahu king, I think his name was Kumahana. He was acting up, getting senile in his old age, and so they removed him. And Kahikili raised Kahahana when he was a little boy, and ends up saying, you know what, you're a big boy now, you're going to be the king of Oahu. But Uncle gonna miss you, so all you got to do is give me the Pua'a of Kualoa. You guys know where that is. It's right at that tip. Why is Kualoa so special, gang? Why is it so special? Kaneho'olani, that big pyramid, you have all the iwi inside there. I had the blessing of seeing the entrance from Pohukaina yesterday. I met this guy who works at Kualoa Ranch. Pohukaina is a huge lava tube that goes from Kualoa to Mauna Ala to Waipahu, all underground. And you guys looking at me like I'm an idiot, but read the book Oahu Places. It's in that book. My daddy's good friend, his name is George Kanehele. He wrote to Kanaka, my dad's buddy. He said he told my daddy when he was a little boy, his grandfather took him to Pohukaina when he was small. They brought food and stuff. It was in the 3 days they came out in Honolulu. Rivers underneath. Amazing. But I got to see the entrance yesterday. That's cool. Kahikili wants that because he wants this. And that area, Hakipu'u, all of that area is momona. Fresh water, fish ponds, abundance. Yeah, that's where Ka'i came, planted all the ulu. Yeah. So Oahu was the jewel. So Kahana tells him, yeah, no problem, Uncle. I can get up. But when he comes back to Oahu, he's going to Nui. Ka'apulupula tells him, brother, what's the matter with you? You cannot give him that. That what makes Oahu strong. So Kahikili hears that. He's not too happy with his nephew. He's going back. But Kahikili's coming in the way. It's Kale'opulupulu. Ka'apulupulu's little brother. They don't get along. He starts planting lies in Kahana. Brother, better watch your kahuna. He'll take over. Kahana, in his old age, starts to believe the lies. Okay? This is my great grandma. This is Robert Pakawet's wife, my grandma Sarah. I heard about this palawa growing up in my house. She had two, but the family was fighting over it. So Grandpa donated it to the Bishop Museum in 1963. Daddy found the letter. I went to my friends at Bishop Museum. They dug it up. I got to go see it. Cry. That's great grandma's palawa. Got to see it. It wasn't just a family story. So that led me to some of the stuff I make today. This is my wife's retirement because I'm an artist, a struggling artist at times. If she got it, this is what she can look at. Some of the stuff I made. What happens to Ka'opulupulu and his son? They're killed. The son committed suicide off of HAWAI'I. But before they do, they curse Kahana. They tattoo their knees, Kuli. Said, my king didn't listen to me, so he will not have increase. And so the son dies. He's killed at Puloa, sacrificed at Waikiki. And Kahikili hears that. So he sends 600 of his exploratory guys just to poke around to see their Oahu defenses. Oahu guys get together, they have a big powwow, they get a meeting. He said, no, we're not that strong, but 8 of their generals decide to do a commando raid on the 600 that are camped by Apokehamea, by Lapetra and Waikiki. And they do incredibly well. Now, they never heard of Sparta, they never saw the movie 300, but they were all expert bull guys. Now, the Oahu guys, they don't carve their palawa. That's what you see. It's straight out of the whale like that. Yeah? That's how they roll. That's how they like it. The big guys did it. So they did so well, hundreds piling up there. They said, you know what, let's live to fight another day. So they break through. One of the guys get bow legs, he can't run fast, he was captured. They tie him up like a pig, put him over their shoulders like that, start carrying him back. They call out to his boys, hey, I don't want to be tortured by these guys. Anybody got an extra EHA? Put him right here. So they throw one at him, he dodges it, hits the Maui guy, they all escape. Kahikili comes full force. The Oahu guys do good. They kill one of his favorite generals. Kahikili snaps, he commits genocide. Men, women, children, their goldfish, pet cat, dog, burn. The Oahu lines come to an end. Yeah. So when Kamehameha comes, that's the Maui guys over here, guys. That's not the Oahu guys. If you were lucky enough to escape, change your name. But they were hunted down and they were all wiped out. So I had the original, I just finished it, was in my booth at the Hawaiian Convention. And the Hawaiian Convention, they had at the convention center, you get Kanakas from Hawaii to Kau before the event, had the painting in my booth. On the last day of the event, when Kanaka, the guy comes out early in the morning, I don't know what he was doing there so early, but he points to the guy in the middle, he said, hey brother, that's Pupuka. I said, yes. How the heck did you know that? You know, Pupuka means you're ugly, right? That's the curveball so the evil spirits won't bother. You're not ugly, they just don't want the evil spirits to bug you. He said, how the heck do you know that, bro? He said, that's my name. He said, you know Pupuka? He said, yeah, that's my tutu man. Thinking, how the heck? Because I thought everybody died. So he says, you the artist? Oh, yeah. I saw you putting them up the first day, bro. Oh, yeah, about 4 days ago. He said, yeah. I was talking to my tutu man. I'll show you, bro. He said, they were all in your booth. They all came to see the painting. And they loved it. Somebody telling this story. See, you know who Pupuka was? I don't know, bro. Got a date for that story. I'm always shame, man. 8 guys kicked 600 butts. They don't like you know that story, just like today's news. Yeah. History is written from the point of the victors. The loser's not around to tell the side of the story. He said, no. Pupuka was Kaha's son. That was his idea to do the commander raid, and you know, they did pretty good, but they ended up losing the war. When he escaped to Kauai, he changed his last name, and that's why he took him to be. Wow. How come you didn't paint that, bro? Nobody painted that before. So, well, my baby girl come in, she got into Puno. I'm watching the boys play, I see the hole with the wings. My grandfather name was the Flying P, Palava Settlement. I said, this guy. So, no, uncle, we used to be Oahu College. I go, yeah, Iron Bingham, Kawamanga lands, all of that. Yeah, that's right. But the men's team's uncle were known as the Sons of Oahu. I said, that BS, you know, the original story, Sons of Oahu. It's time to paint it. So I painted that. Later on, the same day, this lady comes strolling by in her electric chair. Her daughter went to school with one of my brothers from the mill. So I know Auntie Allah really well. And she tells me this, I see your booth is still today. And it was only me and her. What you mean, Auntie? You're the venue to tell their stories. You bring them to life. They will take care of you. Mahalo for your work. Okay. So in conclusion, I don't know how these guys look like. Okay, I really don't. But I feel them. I know Alapa'i was one of my uncles. If I visit his house, I better behave. If I don't behave, I'm gonna get cracks. So that's why I'm painting them like that. Like what? Yeah, you need something. Yeah. Sold the original to a cousin, a Mahi, Aaron Mahi's brother, Jared. He's up in the Big Island. Mahi's East, that's those guys. Kauawanuia Mahi, that's Alapa'i's daddy. That's all those guys. So I have G. Clay in my booth, Honolulu, a couple months later, Hawaiian guys looking at the painting, goes, that's Alapa'i, yeah? I go, yeah, bro, how you doing that? I don't want a name. So I get him already, you saw your stuff at my mail. I go, yeah. He said, my great-grandfather looked just like that. How you know that's how he looked like? I said, bro, I was looking at you. You look like my baby, bro. That's my friend. I was going to Maui one time. I did Keikawike, Kahikili. I wanted to do the chant in Kahahana. I see Cyril Pahinui one day. Good day, Brother Brook. I said, hey, sure, how's it going, man? He goes, good, man. I ever tell you a story about my father? I said, no. He said, you know my dad? I said, no, I never did meet Daddy, but I said, thank you for the music. He said, when my daddy was a little boy, he was HAWAI'I to the Pahinuis. Did you know that? I said, no, I didn't know that. He said, yeah, my daddy's uncle got killed by the Massies. I go, joke Hawaii. I said, yeah. He said, so the family got a lot of pilikia. So my dad was HAWAI'I to the Pahinuis. Our last name not supposed to be Pahinui. Supposed to be Hawaii. That's why my Hawaii came on, yeah. So I gave Cyril the original as he told me the story. Found out later that Hawaii is a direct ancestor of Malay McFarlane. And she uses that for her advantage when she goes and trying to make a living for her and her family. Yeah? And also Max Holloway is another guy that loves my paintings. Helps them do their sharing of their talents. Growing up in my dad's house, I read Ruling Chiefs when I was a little kid. In Ruling Chief, there's a story about Kalani, the blind chief of Kau. Yeah, it's an interesting, fascinating story. Kalani was the first guy that had battle drones. He trained Kaloa ducks to spot rain in battle. Brilliant. I told you the Hawaiians was brilliant. Yeah, I told you that. Quack, 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 boss, he's on your right side. Two guys to help him. He could throw 5 BEEHIVE with either hand. Tremendous. Kau guys still love him today. Yeah. He was able to take care of Kau. Only until we came, he and my mom said, bro, we cannot even get close to this guy. We gotta take out these ducks. So they ended up doing that, and that's how they got Kau. Yeah. So I did this painting in 2014. 2016, I get a call from a lady from Hawaii'I. She's on the internet. She sees the image. That's her tutu, man. She wants to get a print. She drives to my house from Hawaii'I. I live in Kalihi. A couple weeks later, she finds a picture of her great-grandfather Daniel, Kalani, from Kauai, 1912. Shana Raposa is her name. Bro, how you know that's how we look like? I said, sister, it's not me, man. I get help. They come out like that. I don't know, I guess somebody gonna take the time to paint them, but I gotta do it correctly, I guess. Yeah, gotta do it correctly. I did this painting of Naiole recently. That's the guy that came see it come at me. I wanted him to look like my good friend from Maui, Clifford Naiole. He's the kind of patriarch that normally clan. But I was disappointed because in the end it didn't look like Clifford. It did not look like Clifford, and I knew that. But I went with it anyway. But that's Naiole. Some pictures I did from commitment schools, wasn't painting yet. A week later, I get a call. This person in Molokai. Naiole, this is their great-grandfather. Brother, how you know that's how we look like? I didn't know. So growing up in my dad's house, yeah, always taught me to give back. Yeah, it's not always about money. It's not. You get time, talents, and those that want to listen, you help. Yeah? Famous painter in Honolulu. I will not mention her name. Yeah? I went up to her when I first started. I said, I love your artwork. It's amazing. Do you teach? I know you live in Honolulu Valley. I don't teach anyone, bro. I don't even allow anybody to watch me paint. Whoa. And you painting Hawaiians? It's not all. I'll never say that. I'm thinking that. Yeah. I'm being polite, keeping a cannon calm. I was always taught different. This year, it's not about you. So, needless to say, I'm not going to ask her again. Like, whatever. Yeah. So we're not rich, but that painting, by the way, Daddy donated that to Commitment School's Girls' Stone. That's Kempo Olani. That's Dad's version. He did the original. So you see on the internet and stuff. My dad did that. Hangs in Commitment School on class of 53, his class. I didn't go to Kamehameha, got the skinny letter 7th grade. But we still don't get to Kamehameha. We donated all this to Kamehameha. I said, what are you doing, bro? They all avoid the key. You know what I mean? Everybody paid their rent. It's not about that. I'm thankful that my 3 kids got to go to Kamehameha. Yeah. So they got this hanging up there. Got to do a project for the girls' dorm too. Kapiolani Nui. Kevin Mawini's daughter. Yeah. They had a big ceremony. We gave the girls a print, the senior class. They was going to give them free, but the dorm parents, mom said no, we want the girls to work for it, so they had car wash and bake sale. And I gave them Hawaii'I family price on the painting. So they got that. My daughter went Puno, we take care of them too. Now Puno, Kamehameha in the same house. I had battles all the time. My son went Kamehameha, my daughter used to live in Puno. But they try to do Hawaiian stuff too. This is Kaliani's sister. She runs the Hawaiian over there. My brother's in arms at the National Guard, 29th Brigade. So my friends. And then when they returned the cloak and helmet from New Zealand, me and Drina got to go to the one that was just for, wasn't to the public yet. So I got to hang around with some of these heavy hitters. And I brought the painting because he didn't find a home yet of Kalani'apu. Now, all you guys know those guys is at the picture. Yeah. Some are great leaders. So they invited my uncles and aunties to come from Kau, direct descendants of Kalani'apu. So we got to sit in a special section over there. And we ended up donating that painting to the Bishop Museum. So the lady couldn't believe it. I had the museum. She goes, "Are you just lost?" I said, "No, I'm giving it to you guys." "Really?" I go, "Yeah, I think he belongs here, especially stuff is returned to them." She goes, "What can we do for you, Brooke?" I said, "I don't need what else." I said, "But since you mentioned it, I go on Wednesdays, sit on the Lahala tree, we got all the masters coming with this stuff, Saul Peel, all the great carvers, they come, they hang out. I said, "Man, you got to pay $5 for parking." I said, what's up with that? The parking lot is full. Empty. You got $5 parking lot. But don't worry. The lifetime membership that I got from donating the painting, so that was nice. That's one of the good friends with Mikai, Kamala degrees. All good, excellent crafters in their home. Did some posters for Mary Monarch, some big paintings for hotels, sharing all of them. This is when they put it in the convention center. So we're all a lot of Kamehameha guys. Ologilani Resort, UH Manoa. Right after they got the painting, they won 8 in a row until the quarterback got hurt. The whole line never blocked, and he started losing again. Then most recently, one of my big paintings got to go on the USS Daninoy in the wardroom where all the officers eat. They want to win battle scene, so they wanted Uncle Herb's one. But I had to change them up a little bit. So I added some extra guys. You see the guy on the right side falling off with an EA in his heart. He should have called in soup that morning, but he didn't. So in this picture, I'm a son, now I'm a grandfather, a father, and I'll end with this story. I went out to a Kamehameha celebration. I saw Kamel Kalihiki out there. Now Kamel is another. They don't make up like that anymore. And he told me when he was a little boy growing up in Kona, and told me about all the great stories of our mighty ancestors. But he told me, "You know what, bro? Those stories belong to them. That's not you." Then he asked me this question, and I'm going to ask you, what kind of ancestor will you be? I didn't talk about you. I get guys come in my room, "Oh, bro, that's my sister, you know. We come for that." I said, "Right on, bro. Yeah, we did this. Yeah, I know. Right on. But what did you do? Yeah. I don't care how much money you get in the bank, how big your car, how big your house. Are you a good husband? Are you a good father? Do you help other people?" So, a lot of stuff is just not important. We talk about the ancestors. Yeah. Those accomplishments belong to them. What are we going to do? So I have this in my booth. At times I get Hawaiians come up and ask me, "How do you feel making money off the ancestors, bro?" One of those guys. I should have recognized the dark cloud when I saw it coming. But I choose to reply this way. So, "Well, brother, if I had a great-grandson taking care of my great-great-grandchildren by painting my pictures and keeping my name and memory alive, I'd be happy, bro. Now, why not me? I love them. I know they love me. Why not me? I don't particularly enjoy living on a coconut tree. I gotta pay rent. Food? Yes. What do you do to take care of your family, bro?" So, thank you tonight, ladies and gentlemen, for your time. I enjoyed sharing some of the stories of our beloved Nakapuna. I know each and every one of you in here also has special talents and gifts that as you continue to share, I know you know Nakapuna will be close by. Because what makes this place special about Hawaii, and a lot of you have traveled way more than me, when you tell you're from Hawaii, that brings a smile to people's faces.